going to talk about why you cannot seem to make any big changes. Why it feels like you do some things and then you go right back to the way things were before. You make a little bit of progress for a day or a week or even a month, and then things just seem to just go right back to how they were before. Maybe you're trying to change the way you think or dissolve those racing thoughts, sleep better at night, but every time you start to make some progress or you decide you're going to do something, but then the next day rolls around and you're just right back on autopilot. If you find that that is you and you've been struggling to make any lasting change or big changes, I'm going to tell you right now why. The number one reason why most people don't make lasting change is because we just go right back to autopilot with no reminders of anything. Every time you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and everything just goes reset, it's just filled with the same things over and over. You wake up, you shower, brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, get dressed, take the kids somewhere. If you don't have kids, then you're just going straight to work. And then you work, and then you eat, and then you work, and then you eat, and then you work, and then you go home, and then you cook, and then you eat, and then you clean, and then you sleep. And it's like, all right, where's the change? If you feel like you're stuck like this, how do you incorporate something new? Because that's another thing I've noticed with a lot of people I've worked with is that they want to incorporate something new. They go to do it, but then they forget. You know, we'll meet, we'll talk, I'll give them the thing to do, and then you see them again, they're like, oh, right, yeah, I was gonna, I just didn't have time. It was just such a busy week, it just went right by. And it's like a whole week, 7 days, each day had like 14 hours of doing stuff, and you mean to tell me you didn't have 5 minutes each day to do this one new thing? So here's the thing. Here's what I help people to do, and that is to keep it top of mind. You need to have visual cues. It's not your fault that you're going into autopilot. That's kind of the way our brains are trained to do things, so that you don't have to think so intensely about mundane tasks. You don't want to have to really like, okay, now I have to go and wash my hands and fold these clothes. Like, those are things that you've done it enough. You're not learning it for the first time. You can just let your other part of your brain just make your body do those things. It's just, the big issue here is that if you are always in autopilot mode, trying to incorporate new tasks, new habits, new things, you have to do that thing over and over and over with the other part of your brain that you haven't been using all that much because you've been just in autopilot mode. You're just using that stored memory, that part of you that just keeps things going. You can be driving and then be like, oh yeah, you can autopilot your way home. I've even been in vehicles sometimes where you're going along, and sometimes like my husband made a turn one time. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh yeah, we're not going there. We're going here. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you just kind of autopilot your way home sometimes because it's ingrained in your mind. So how do you ingrain something new in your mind? You have to keep it top of mind. So one thing that I always teach, and this is, not everybody likes this, but writing it on your hand right here. I mentioned it in one of my other videos that if you want to make a big change, it has to be right in top of mind. And I've encouraged people to also use signs in your house, like Post-it notes, brightly colored Post-it notes on your window, on your mirrors. But putting something right here on your hand, it's, we do a lot of things with our hands, and right there seems to be a spot that gets seen quite a bit. Now, I don't do it on my dominant hand. I do it, unless you're ambidextrous, pick whatever, it doesn't matter. But I do it on the hand that I'm not using most of the time, because it's usually the hand that's holding something. If you're mixing in a bowl, you're going to use this hand, and this hand's going to hold it. Or if you're chopping something, this hand's going to be chopping the knife, this hand's going to be holding. This hand is often in a holding position on something. Even on like the steering wheel, you see it. You see it a lot. So I want you to ask yourself right now, what is one thing that you have been struggling to change for a long time? Is it something with your mood, your house, your work, your thoughts? Ask yourself right now, each day, what would make it better? If I could change one small thing right now to improve my life, what would that one thing be? Again, I've shared this before. For me, when I asked myself in the morning, what do I want to give others today? The answer that always came to mind was patience and love. Because there's nothing worse than losing patience, whether you're driving, whether you're with your kids or in the grocery store or just working with your computer or a printer or something. When you lose your patience, shit spirals out of control, and it almost feels like a domino effect of more bad things happening. And it's often exactly what happens when you spiral into anger, frustration, blame, all those kinds of things. It turns into a bit of a shitstorm. So one thing that I wanted to change with myself is making sure that I don't run out of patience. Like, why do I have to run out of patience? I get it that, you know, they've done neurological studies and studies with people to try to see, like, why do we become more short-tempered when we're tired or angry or overheated? You know, have you noticed that? You know, the temperature goes up and it's like things get heated really quickly. Tired, it's like why do we run out of patience? Why? Do we have to? I don't know. Is it something we can exercise? Yes, we can definitely exercise that part of our mind to grow our ability to be more patient. So for me, I wrote patience and love, because who doesn't need more love in your life? If you haven't watched my video on love, and do that next. But yeah, that's what it looks like. I just did that with dry erase marker. I usually use like a ballpoint pen, and I know holistically it's not great to put ink on your skin, because whatever you put on your skin gets absorbed into your body, and I know it's not good. So try to use non-toxic things if you can. I've even thought about using henna, because I have some henna, and I'm like, that might not be a bad idea, because then it won't wash off every time you go and wash your hands, because I'm always washing my hands and like just kind of like leaving that spot and just like washing all my fingers and the inside of my hands. But henna would be good. But that's the thing. You will see that over and over and over, and that will ingrain it into your mind. Every moment that comes up where you might have that trigger of like, oh, and go into autopilot of the way you react to people, situations, things. That autopilot in your mind, you can change that. You can totally change the wiring in your brain. I've heard that old saying, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's like, yes, you can. You can totally rewire your brain for new things. And it starts by keeping things top of mind. So use visual cues. This is important. Use visual cues. Again, it's using things like signs or post-it notes. That helps. And you might be thinking, well, people are going to think I'm a bit kooky. It's like, that's your thought. That's your thought. You're thinking they're going to think that you're kooky. But here's what I ask you right now. You just had that thought. There's nobody else around. You just had the thought that they're going to have that thought. You're thinking that they're thinking that. You don't know what they're thinking. And if they do say something, whoever this they is, the people in your life, the people around you, if they say something, what's it going to do? Do you have to take it personally? No. You know, I get it that it's sometimes the hardest to make changes, especially personal changes, personality changes, because you are allowed to change your personality anytime you want. You don't have to be the same person that people expect you to be. That's one of the traps that we get into in life, is being this person that everybody expects you to be. You know, as long as you're being the best version of you, you can be any way you want. Why not? You know, think about that for a second. We're allowed to change. You are allowed to change as much as you want. You can change how you look. You can change how you talk. You can change how you act. You're allowed to. As long as you're on that path of just being the best version of you, in your opinion, not somebody else's opinion. You know, if somebody, notices that you're really working on becoming more patient and loving, and they look at you like, that's not you. You have a sharp temper. You yell a lot. That's not you. That's not you. Nuts to that person that says that kind of jerk stuff. But that's kind of sometimes what people react, even if they don't say it. And those could be the things that you're worried about people being like, oh, that's not you. You can't do that. You're like this. And then they tell you how you are. And it's like, that's not how you want to be. If that's not how you want to be, that's not how you have to be. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to incorporate new things into your life and remember them and keep practicing them, regardless of what anybody else might think. If they think you're weird for writing on your hand, if they think you're weird for putting post-it notes on your bathroom mirror so that you can remind yourself of the thing that you were thinking about the night before, and then you wake up and you don't want to go back into the same thought pattern, the same autopilot routine, the same drifting through life, you know, use visual cues. It is important. And the other thing is, once you start to notice the changes, keep going with the visual cues. Oftentimes we start to think, oh, I've got it now. And then you get comfortable feeling a little bit better. You're like, oh, I'm starting to get a little bit better. You know, I'm more patient, I'm more loving, I'm kinder, I feel better because of it. And you're like, this is good. And then you stop doing the thing. And then slowly you forget the change that you were working on. You slowly forget the mental triggers that you were working on rewiring. And then you can slip and drift back into the same old habits, the same old thought patterns that you were before. So keep going. Keep going until it becomes a new autopilot thing. Because that's when that neurological change happens, where it gets filed into the automatic, you don't need to think about it consciously. Like the unconscious actions of just, now it's a part of you. Now you are just naturally more patient. You're just naturally more full of love. Cool. Congratulations. But keep going with the visual cues longer than you think you need to. I've talked with a lot of people, and they kind of come full circle where they're like, yeah, I was doing that for a long time and it felt really good. Like the thing that they were doing, like, for example, breath work. Anybody who's ever tried doing guided breathwork routines, they're like, yeah, actually I did try that. It was really good. I felt good when I was doing that every day, but then I just kind of stopped. It's like, okay, that's the thing. It's like you start doing something and you're like, oh, it's starting to feel good. It's good. And then you're like, well, I'm good. And then you stop doing the thing because now you're good. You're like, check that box. We don't need to keep doing it. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't feel that good anymore. What happened? Well, you stopped doing the thing. It went out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. No more visual cues. And that's another thing. I use cues in my phone sometimes with reminders. I don't have like a whole bunch of alarms going off all the time. For a while I kind of did, but if there's something really important and you're able to put it in your calendar and put it on your phone as an alarm, because I noticed sometimes calendar alerts, they're just like bing bong, and you're like, wait, what was that? And then you look and you're like, I don't know what that notification was for. Sometimes Google Calendars doesn't even tell you what it's the notification for. I was like, was that for the meeting next week? Or the summit in 2 days? Or the call I have in an hour? What? Huh. So use alarms with a title. Give it a title. For example, if you want to start doing guided breathworks, like Breathe with Sandy on YouTube, love that guy. His guided breathworks are awesome. They're so good. My favorite one is the Cosmic Energy. 5 rounds, 2 speeds. Cosmic Energy. Breathe with Sandy. Check it out. Love it. Anyway, if you want to start doing something like that, then put it in your phone, breathwork, at a time where it's non-negotiable, that you know you're not going to be doing other things, whether it's in the morning or right at a midday or in the evening, or one of each, That's always good too. And And you schedule that in for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on what you have, or if it's in the evening and you want to like kick a bad habit in the evening that you're using currently for relaxation, you want to do some like epic breath work for like 30 or 40 minutes, that's a good time. You can do that too. But just starting out, you can do 5 minutes and it makes a huge difference. So schedule it in, but put it in your phone, put it under an alarm with a title, with a sound that you like to hear. So when it goes off, you're like, yeah, I can do that. You check it out and it reminds you. And each time you do it, it might feel hard at first. You're like, oh, that's not usually what I do right now. I used to just check out and go watch some TV at this point in the day just to disassociate and detach from my day. And maybe that's what you usually do because, you know, who hasn't done that? Who doesn't do that? But instead, if you want to wire in those new habits, use that cue with a title on your phone so you see what the alarm is for. You don't want just some random alarms going off. You want to see what it is for. Designate that visual cue. Does that make sense? Because when you don't have visual cues and you just go back into the drifting autopilot, no change happens. And another year will roll around. Next thing you know, it's going to be December and everybody's going to be going, oh man, I still have the same problems I had last year. But I told myself this year was going to be different. I told myself this year I was going to make changes. To do different things, you have to tell yourself to do different things. Decide what those different things are and visually cue yourself to do them. Just trying to remember everything all the time puts a lot of extra stress on your mind, because then your mind is always going, don't forget this, don't forget that, don't forget this, don't forget that, don't forget this. And then you're thinking about doing the task while you're not doing the task, which takes you out from being present. You want to remain present. So that's the other point of using visual cues, is that you don't want these tasks running through your mind constantly, because your brain can't tell the difference between doing something and thinking about doing something when it comes to your energy. So it's like having computer programs running all the time. It's going to drain your battery really quickly. So take the tasks out of your mind, put them on paper, put them in your phone, put them on your hand, so that you can just be present with the one thing you're doing right now. Whatever it is. If you're eating, enjoy the food. Don't think about the million other things you want to do. If you're reading a book, read the book. Don't get distracted thinking about how little time you have. Maybe you have to go pick up your kid soon. Become present by taking the things out, shutting down those mental programs, and use visual cues to guide you throughout your day. Use those visual cues to rewire your mind for what you actually want to bring into your life. Make the choice to brainwash yourself. Instead of being brainwashed by all the nonsense that we've been fed throughout the years with, school and the news and neighbors and parents, God bless them. But we've been fed a lot of opinions and perspectives that might not be serving you today. Maybe it did when you were a kid, maybe not. But if it's not serving you, it's time to just replace things with the things you want. And to replace them, cue yourself. And that's the other thing. When it comes to habit stacking, you can habit stack by taking something new that you want to do and place it alongside something that you already do, like brushing your teeth. If there's you want to start using like a dry brush on your skin, because it's great. It's great. Dry brushing is great. You don't know what it is? Look it up. But if you want to start doing that, maybe put yourself a Post-it note right by your toothbrush, because you're going to go brush your teeth. Right after you brush your teeth, you could do the dry brushing. It'll feel so good on your body and everything. Just like, yeah, it feels good. Check it out. But that is a habit stack. When you take something an existing habit and pair it with something new that you want to do. But again, use visual cues, like Post-it note. Autopilot is not a bad thing. It is very useful. But if that's the only mode you're in, and you're not in any kind of new learning mode or new rewiring mode, it can be a very monotonous mode, and it'll make it feel like your days just drift by, your weeks just drift by, You say you're going to do something, and next thing you know, oh man, I got so busy. It was just like, days go by. Nothing gets done. Nothing changes. Everything stays the same. This helps you make change in a shorter period of time. Take something that you want to do that might take you never to do. I swear, I've talked to some people that, 6 years can go by and they're like, oh yeah, I really wanted to do that thing and I never did. And it's like, why not? I just keep forgetting. And to be honest, to be fair, the whole memory problem thing is kind of a deeper issue, and I might make a whole nother video on that. One thing that you can avoid in your food to help your memory is anything that is natural flavor or artificial flavors, because that has been shown to cause dementia-like symptoms. So yeah, watch your food, watch drugs, because a lot of drugs cause memory loss. So go the natural way, go holistic, yay holistic healing, and yeah, try this out. Let me know what you think in the comments, how it works out for you, what struggles you might have, and I will see you on the next video.